The first thing you must understand about 40 below is that it is not a number. It is a place. It is a different world. The rules of your world, the one you think you know, do not apply. At 40 below, the air itself changes. It becomes a living, hostile thing. When you breathe in, it does not just fill your lungs. It stabs them. It feels like swallowing a shard of glass. You do not exhale steam. You exhale a cloud of tiny, glittering ice crystals, a diamond dust that falls to the ground. Sound changes. The snow does not crunch. It screams. It makes a high-pitched styrofoam squeak under your moccasins, a sound that tells you the moisture is gone from the world. The silence is so heavy, it has a sound of its own. It's a low, humming void. And the trees explode. I was standing on the ridge, checking a trap line. The sun was a pale, useless coin in a sky so clear and blue it looked like a fresh bruise. There was no wind. Wind is for warmer weather. At 40 below, the air is too heavy to move. It just sits. I heard it, a sound like a rifle shot. It echoed for miles. I looked across the valley. 100-foot pine, a giant, had just detonated. The sap in its heart had frozen, expanded, and the tree had split itself in two from crown to root. That is 40 below. It is the temperature where the world breaks, and it will do the same to you. You people, you talk about cold. You shiver when it's 20 degrees. You put on a down jacket and call it winter. You think you know survival because you bought a kit. You know nothing. 20 below. That's just cold. It's uncomfortable. It nips at your fingers. It's a warning. But 40 below, that is a judge. It's the place on the thermometer where Celsius and Fahrenheit meet, shake hands, and agree to kill you. It's a place that finds every single flaw, every crack in your equipment, every flaw in your planning, every weakness in your character. At 40 below, steel becomes brittle as glass. An axe head can shatter on a piece of frozen wood. Your skin, if exposed for more than a minute, does not just freeze. It dies. It turns white and waxy, and you don't even feel it go. Your own body becomes your greatest enemy. Your lungs burn. Your blood thickens. Your mind, starved of heat, starts to lie to you. You think you can fight it. You think you can tough it out. That is the first mistake. And at 40 below, the first mistake is almost always the last. You don't fight this. You don't beat it. You respect it. You negotiate with it. You follow its laws to the letter. And maybe, just maybe, it lets you live. This is the guide. This is what I know. This is what I learned the hard way. Forget your gadgets. Forget your bravado. If you are ever caught in this place, there are only 3 laws that matter. Not rules, laws, as real as gravity. The first law, moisture, is the traitor. This is the one you all break. You think, I'm cold, I'll move fast to warm up. You chop wood like a madman. You run. You sweat. And at 40 below, sweat is a death sentence. It does not evaporate. It freezes. It turns your inner layer of clothing into a sheet of ice. The conduction you've heard about, it's a pickpocket at 20 below. At 40 below, it's a highway robber with a shotgun. It will suck the heat from your core in minutes. The law is simple. You do not sweat. Ever. You move slow. You move like an old man, even if you are young. You manage your layers, opening your parka, taking off your hat before you get warm. You treat sweat as the poison it is. The second law, the fornace needs fat. At 40 below, your body is a blast furnace. It is burning every calorie you have, just to keep your heart beating. You can feel it. It is a deep, internal vibration. You think your energy bars, your dried fruit, your gorp, you think that's food. It is not. It's candy. That furnace does not run on sugar. It runs on fat, pure, dense, high-energy fat, lard, tallow, bear grease, the thick yellow fat from the back of a caribou. You must eat it constantly. You eat when you are not hungry. You eat until you are sick of it. Because if your furnace runs out of fuel, the fire goes out, and you cannot relight it. The third law, shelter is not optional. This is the one that separates the living from the dead. You think a fire will save you? A fire at 40 below is a lie. It's a small, bright, cheerful lie that is sucking all the oxygen from the air and creating a draft that freezes your back. It warms your face while the frostbite takes your toes. It gives you false hope. You cannot fight 40 below. You must hide from it. The wind is the real killer. A 40 below air still is survivable. A 40 below air moving at 10 miles an hour. That's a wind chill of 70 below. That will kill you in your high-tech jacket in 10 minutes. Shelter, a cave, a deep spruce well, a snow hole you dig yourself. Hiding is the only way to win. These are the laws. And I learned them all on a 3-day journey a long time ago with a man who thought he knew better. His name was Jacob. He was a good man, strong as an ox, fearless. He was a new partner, running a long trap line with me way up in the Grizzly Creek Basin. It was a 3-day trip from the main cabin. He was a normal winter man. He could handle 20 below. He laughed at it. He was full of jokes and hard muscle. But he'd never met the judge. We were on our second day checking traps. The air was cold, maybe 15 below, but still, we had a good load of pelts. We were moving well. Then the sky changed. It didn't snow. It didn't cloud over. The sun just dimmed. The blue in the sky turned a hard, pale, metallic gray. The silence I told you about, it fell on us. It came down from the north like a physical thing, a great, cold blanket. I felt it in my sinuses first, a sharp, burning ache. "The drop is coming," I said, my voice muffled by my fur ruff. Jacob looked around. "It's a clear day, old man." "It ain't about the clouds, it's about the air." I stopped. I opened my pack. I pulled out the block of rendered bear fat wrapped in canvas. I cut off a thumb-sized piece with my knife and held it out. "Eat," he laughed. "I just had jerky." "Eat it." He frowned, but he ate it. I ate a piece. It was like chewing cold wax, but I could almost feel the heat light up in my stomach. Fuel. Within an hour, the world had changed. The temperature had fallen 30 degrees. It was 40 below. The sun was a white spot. The trees started cracking. That rifle shot sound all around us. The world was breaking. Jacob had stopped talking. "Keep your face covered," I said. "Breathe through the fur." My wolf fur ruff was already caked in ice from my own breath. I'd knock it loose, and the ice would fall like broken glass. We're not gonna make the line cabin," Jacob said. His voice was tight. The cold was already in his lungs. "No, we make camp." Jacob's first mistake. He started moving fast. "We need wood," he said. "A lot of wood. He grabbed his axe and went at a deadfall like he was trying to kill it. He was a strong man. The chips flew. "Jacob!" I yelled. He didn't stop. "Jacob, you're sweating." "I'm cold," he yelled back, his breath a plume of instant ice. "I need to get warm." "You're killing yourself." He stopped. He looked at me, his face red with exertion, his eyebrows already thick white frost. "It's 40 below, old man. You have to move. You stop, you die." He was quoting a book he'd read. He was wrong. You move, you sweat. You sweat, you die. Law number 1. Broken. I didn't argue. I went about my work, my way. Slow. I found a deep drift, sheltered by 3 huge spruce trees that formed a triangle. I used my snowshoe as a shovel. Slowly. 1 scoop, breathe. 1 scoop, breathe. I was building a wall, a windbreak. Jacob, meanwhile, had built a pile of wood. He was proud, and he was soaked. "Help me with the fire," he panted. We got it lit. A good, hot fire. It roared. Jacob stood next to it, turning like a pig on a spit. "See?" he said, his teeth chattering. "This is what we need." "Is it?" I said. I sat with my back to the fire just outside its main light. I was facing our shelter. I was watching the dark. I was eating. Another piece of fat. I offered it to Jacob. "I can't eat that stuff," he said, pulling out his jerky. "My mouth is too stiff." He was right. The jerky was frozen solid, hard as a rock. He couldn't chew it. Then, his second mistake, the mortal one, he reached into his pack and pulled out a flat metal flask. "Whiskey, Betha," he said with a forced grin, "the water of life, a trapper's friend." My blood ran colder than the air. "Jacob, no." "It'll warm me up, just a sip." "It's a lie, son. It's poison. It'll kill you." He waved me off. "You and your rules, old man." He took a long pull. I watched him. He sighed, a great, shuddering sigh. "See?" he said, his voice stronger. That's the stuff. I can feel the heat all the way down to my toes." He was right. He could feel it. What he didn't know is that the whiskey was a traitor. It was opening up all the blood vessels in his skin. It was taking the last precious hoarded heat from his core, from his heart, his liver, his brain, and sending it rushing to his skin to feel warm. He was in that moment actively pumping his life's heat out into the 40 below air, where it was stolen in a microsecond. He was killing himself, and he was smiling about it. I waited. The fire burned. Jacob got quiet. He sat, huddled in his furs, staring at the flames. I'm tired," he said, his voice thick. "Don't sleep," I said. "Not sleeping, just resting. I'm warm now. Finally warm." And then I saw it. He had been shivering, a violent, body-shaking shiver, and it had stopped. He was not shivering. This is the moment. This is the one that separates. Shivering is your body's last weapon. It's the desperate final attempt to generate heat. When it stops, it means the body has given up. The core temperature is too low. The brain is shutting down. The warm, sleepy, deadly lie is taking over. I stood up. "Jacob, get up. Now." "Leave me be," he mumbled. "I'm fine. So warm." I kicked him hard in the leg. He grunted. "What the? Get up." I grabbed the front of his parka and hauled him to his feet. He was a dead weight. "You're a crazy old man," he slurred. He was drunk, not on the whiskey, on the cold. "You're not warm," I said, my voice a growl. I shoved my bare hand inside his parka, his wool shirt. It was damp and cold. A sheet of thin, deadly ice was forming. "You're dying." I shoved him hard. He fell into the snowbank. "Get up and walk," I roared. "No!" This was it. I had to be the bastard. I grabbed a handful of the dry, squeaking snow. I pulled his mittens off. His hands were pale and waxy. I shoved his bare hands into the snow. He screamed. It was a terrible, thin sound. The pain, the shock. You, he sobbed. "Good," I said. "Pain is good. Pain means you're still alive." I grabbed his arms and forced him to walk. Back and forth, back and forth. In the small circle of our camp. "I hate you," he cried. "Good. Hate is warm. Hate is energy. Walk." For an hour, I was his slave driver. I made him walk. I made him eat fat, forcing the greasy stuff past his frozen lips. And then it started. A small tremor, a twitch in his jaw, and then his whole body was shaking again. A violent, rattling shiver. He was alive. He had crossed the line, and I had dragged him back. He collapsed by the fire, shivering, sobbing, but alive. "The fire is a lie," I told him as I piled more furs on him. "That flask is a sin, and your sweat is a ghost that will haunt you." We did not sleep. Neither of us. We sat in the dark, chewing fat, listening to the trees explode, and waiting for the sun. The next day, the sun was just a word. Jacob was broken. He was alive, but the fight had taken everything. His hands and feet were gone. He knew it. They were white, solid blocks of wood. Frostbite. Deep. He was no longer a partner. He was cargo. We can't stay here," he whispered. "We can't go back," I said. "We go on. The main cabin it's 2 days. But we have to go. We have to move. I can't. I'll get you there." It was the longest walk. I put him on his snowshoes. I had to tie his feet to them. He couldn't feel his boots. And we walked. My guide was in full effect. Law 1, moisture. I moved at a snail's pace, a funeral pace. Glide, breathe, glide, breathe. I was pulling him, half carrying him. I could feel the heat building. I'd stop. I'd open my parka wide. I'd stand there in the 40 below air, letting the wind rip the moisture away. It was a cold, burning agony. I'd feel the dampness on my wool shirt freeze. It would turn stiff. I'd break the ice. Then I'd close the parka and walk again. I was a human bellows. Law 2, fat. Every hour. We stopped. I'd cut a piece of fat. For me. For him. We'd sit, backs to the wind, and chew the cold, tasteless fuel. It was not food. It was life. The day. It was not a day. It was a gray, endless time. The world was just the squeak of the snow, the burning in my lungs, and the dead weight of Jacob. His mind was going. He was talking to his wife, his mother. He was in a warm place. This is the other part of 40 below. It takes your mind. It makes you simple. All I had was the laws. Don't sweat. Eat the fat. Keep moving. The second night came, and I knew we were done. Jacob collapsed. He just folded. He fell into a drift and did not move. "I'm home," he mumbled. "It's so warm." The lie. The fire trick wouldn't work again. He was too far gone. I was at the end of my rope. My own body was failing. My own shivers were getting weak. The wind was picking up, a wind at 40 below. The judge was now the executioner. I looked around. It was a flat, open expanse of frozen river. No trees, no shelter, no shelter. Law number 3, I was going to fail. We were going to die here. 2 frozen shapes for the spring thaw. I looked at the bank of the river, a long, high drift. The wind had piled the snow there 10, maybe 15 feet deep. The snow, The enemy? No. I remembered what an old Cree man had told me. The white man fights the winter, he'd said. He builds a fire. He curses the snow. The Anishinaabe, we use the snow. The snow is a blanket. The snow is the warmest place. The shelter is not made. It's found, or it's dug. I left Jacob. I told him I was building a house. He just smiled. I took my snowshoe, and I began to dig. I was not a man. I was an animal, a badger. I dug into the side of that drift, and I followed the law. I dug for 10 minutes. My arms burned. I could feel the hot, wet sting of sweat on my back. Treason. I stopped. I crawled out of the shallow hole. I stood up in the 40 below wind, and I opened my parka. The wind hit me like a solid wall. It was a pain I cannot describe. It was a physical blow. It turned my sweat-damp shirt to ice in 30 seconds. I stood there, vibrating, until the dampness was gone. Then I closed my parka. I crawled back in, and I dug. For 10 more minutes. Stop, stand, freeze the sweat, dig, for hours. I don't know how many. The sun was long gone. The moon was a chip of ice. I dug. I dug until I had a hole, a cave big enough for 2 men. It went 10 feet into the drift. I crawled back out. I found Jacob. He was a lump. I don't know how I did it. I dragged him. I pulled him. I got him into that hole. I crawled in after him. I took my pack, and I plugged the entrance. And the world stopped. The wind, the screaming, killing, 70 below wind, was gone. I couldn't hear it. It was silent. The darkness was total. I fumbled in my pack. My candle, my flint and steel. My hands were claws, but I got a spark. I lit the candle, a tiny 1-inch flame, and it did not flicker. It burned straight up, a perfect, still golden light. The air was still. I looked at my little thermometer, the one I kept on my pack. Outside, it was 41 below. I sat and I watched it. The heat from my body, Jacob's body, the tiny candle, trapped in our snow den. After an hour, the thermometer read 20 degrees above zero. It was a lie, but it was a good lie. It was warm. I could feel my toes stinging. The blood was coming back. I looked at Jacob. His eyes were open. He was looking at the flame. "It's quiet," he whispered. "Yes." "It's warm." "No," I said. "It's not warm. It's just not cold. We're hiding." I forced fat into him. We ate, and in a cave made of the winter itself, we fell asleep. We lived. Jacob lost both his feet. He lost all his fingers. He never trapped again. But he lived. I learned more in those 3 days than I had in the 10 years before. I learned that the white man's way is the fire. It's the fight. It's force. He tries to push the cold away, and he sweats, and he dies. The northern peoples, the Cree, the Inuit, they knew better. They don't fight the winter. They join it. They use the snow, the igloo, the quinzee. They don't build a shelter on the snow. They build it from the snow. They know that the snow is an insulator. It is a blanket. They use the cold against the cold. They don't just survive. They live there. Their guide is not about fighting. It's about harmony. I survived because I finally listened to that. I stopped being a white man with a fire, and I became a creature of the snow. You, with your new gear, your down jackets, your GPS. You think you are safer. You are not. Your down jacket is useless when it's wet, and you will sweat. Your GPS battery will die in the 40 below air. Your high-tech gadgets are just things. You have not learned the laws. You have forgotten how to hide. You have forgotten how to eat. You have forgotten how to be patient. You think 40 below is a number, a challenge, something to conquer on a weekend, to tell your friends about. You are fools. You cannot conquer a judge. You look at 40 below and you ask, how do I fight this? It is the wrong question. You do not fight. You ask, how do I respect this so that it lets me live? The answer is to make no mistakes. None. Ever.